She's gonna give a little bit of a talk and maybe invite another guest up.
Where's Rachel? Where's Rachel? Rachel!
Hi everyone, I'm going to take 10 seconds and then I'm going to get the leader of the opposition up here to talk to you, Mr. Kenny. Yeah, so hold on. I just want to say Alberta is rich and abundant and full of natural resources, a beautiful environment. Do not let the voices of the uninformed celebrities and other people kick you down. Not for a millisecond. And those who come to this province and make films and enjoy our beautiful spaces, these are people that take down hardworking Albertans, and we're not going to stand for it. The hypocrisy is palatable, and Albertans will not stand for it anymore. So to Ms. Fonda, Mr. DiCaprio, Mr. Naim, Mr. Suzuki, and others, Albertans are resilient, amazing, and hardworking folks. And every product that you put on your body and your feet, from your makeup to your shoes, and everything that gets eco-activists to where they're going is produced in this province. So say thank you. We are ethical oil, we are innovation, we are green, we are the oil sands, we are natural gas, we are pipelines, we are proud Albertans, and we are not backing down. So with that little tiny speech, I'd like to introduce you and bring up to the stage the opposition leader, Jason Kenney.
Folks, the silent majority is silent no more. Look at this crowd. We've got union members and business owners, Albertans who are unemployed. We have Aboriginal Albertans and new Albertans and fifth-generation Albertans, and all of us here united in one voice, fighting for our province, fighting for our prosperity. Thank you for that, because you're a sign of hope. It's cold out here, but we're all united as Albertans, and we will no longer tolerate the enemies of our economic progress standing in the way of the rule of law. This is not just a fight for our Alberta's prosperity. This is a fight about what kind of country we live in, about whether or not we believe in the rule of law, whether we are governed by our Constitution, whether we believe in free trade, and whether we will be a prosperous country in the future. Are you willing to fight for that future? You know, we are so blessed to own the third largest oil reserves on Earth, 10% of the world's energy, which has created untold prosperity. If we have good hospitals and schools, roads, and a standard of living in this province and country, it is thanks in large part to the hard work and innovation of the women and men who make up Alberta's energy industry. And you know, this is an industry that has raised people from poverty to prosperity. Think of the tens of thousands of Aboriginal Canadians of First Nations communities that have had a chance to move from poverty to prosperity because of the energy industry. And let us never forget, and the media should remind us, that the vast majority of First Nations support the Kinder Morton Trans Mountain Pipeline. But friends, this is not just a fight for Canada and Alberta, it's a fight for decency all across the world. Because I guarantee you, if Justin Trudeau gets his way and we phase out the oil sands, if David Suzuki gets his way and we shut down Alberta's energy industry, let me ask you, do you think the dictatorship in Venezuela will ship one less barrel of oil? What about the human rights violating monarchy in Saudi Arabia? Will they ship any less oil? What about Vladimir Putin's autocratic Russia? Will they reduce their oil exports? So the question is this: in a world where there is a growing global demand for oil and gas for at least the next generation, the question for us is whether or not Canada will play a larger role in supplying that growing demand, or whether we will bottleneck these resources and give a monopoly to some of the world's worst regimes. I say that this country, with the highest environmental, human rights, and labor standards, should be the world's major supplier of energy. We need more Canada. No, this is nonpartisan, guys.
NDP sucks.
So, folks, the reason though that we are now in this, the reason you've had to leave work early, or maybe you're unemployed and you're out here because this is one way of you fighting for your jobs to come back. The reason we're out here and it's cold today is because this is the last chance. The federal government vetoed Northern Gateway. They killed Energy East. They surrendered to the last American president on Keystone XL. And now they brought forward a Bill C-69, that according to this industry will make it impossible to get another major pipeline approved in the future. So it's Kinder Morgan, it's Trans Mountain, or bust. Either we get this built or we will lose hundreds of billions of dollars of future value, tens of billions of dollars of government revenue to pay off our debts, finance our healthcare, and our education. This is the fight for Alberta's future right now, right here, today. And so, let us all together call on the federal government. First of all, Minister Sohi, thanks for coming out. But if you want to support this industry, withdraw Bill C-69, another attack on our energy industry. And words are not enough. It is time for our national government to act like a national government, to defend our Constitution and the rule of law and free trade within Canada. It is time for the federal government to invoke its special power under the Constitution to declare null and void any delay tactics by the BC government. I don't do this often, but I agree with the federal NDP leader, Mr. Singh, that the federal government should steal the march on Premier Horgan and go straight to the Supreme Court on a reference to make it absolutely clear that BC cannot delay this pipeline. And it's time for our federal government to use the power of the purse. Minister Sohi, you were in Vancouver a week ago and you signed an agreement to give John Horgan $4.3 billion in infrastructure funding. And the federal government is negotiating right now to give BC another $1.3 billion for job training. Well, I have this is what we need to hear from our Prime Minister on Sunday. When he sits down with John Horgan, he needs to look across the table. If he wants to avoid a constitutional crisis and an economic crisis for Canada, our Prime Minister needs to say, Premier Horgan, don't cash those checks. We're holding back $5.5 billion until the pipeline is done. Why would we give the Horgan government over $4 billion in infrastructure funding when they're threatening this $7 billion private sector infrastructure investment? Why would we give them $1 billion in job training money when they're killing the jobs of Albertans and British Columbians, including Aboriginal British Columbians, by threatening this pipeline? I'm sorry, we have to move from talk to action. And friends, here in Alberta, I'm glad our Premier agrees with me that we must be prepared to go to the wall, up to and including turning off the taps of Alberta oil to British Columbia if it comes to it. In closing, let's remember, our fight is not with ordinary British Columbians. How many of you here grew up in BC and came to, look at that. And how many, we all have friends and family in BC. We are all Canadians first. And I want to say thank you to the majority of British Columbians who support the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Thank you. We're with you in holding your government to account. Our quarrel is not with British Columbians, it's with that government in Victoria. We're going through a tough time right now, but friends, we are Albertans. We dig deep, we overcome, we struggle, but we emerge. That's how we built this province. That's how we will continue to build it. God bless you, God bless Alberta.